everyone, I'm Sandy from Creative Discovery in PaintShop Pro. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, a warm welcome, and please subscribe so you can find your way back to my videos by clicking on the subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner. Today's tutorial is another intermediate level tutorial. It's a little bit longer and a bit more complicated than the previous ones I have done, but it's really no harder. There are no plugins for this tutorial, but there are some supplies, and the links for those are in the description box below. There are 3 images from Pixabay and also a zip file. In that zip file you will find a PSP image of a shape. There are 2 patterns which you will need to place into your patterns folder. And there are also some vines. Now these vines are brushes, so you need to place those into your brush folder. If you are a beginner and you're looking for tutorials to learn this program from the ground up, we do have a course for that. There is a link in the description box below for that course and to find the registration page over on the website. So click on that and have a look at that. It may be just what you're looking for. Okay, let's get on with this tutorial now. Here is a little preview of what we are going to be making in this tutorial. Okay, start by locating your 3 Magnolia images. This one by Gabby Stein, this one by Ginny George, and also the one by Lawrence Herr, and open them in PaintShop Pro. Duplicate all of them, close your originals. You're going to resize all of them by 20%. And then sharpen. Okay, let's minimize those for the moment. Open a new image, 500 by 500, raster background and transparent. We are going to load 2 colors into our materials palette. We're going to have a darker green, and the HTML code is 233501, and a lighter green of ABB6A9. Now it doesn't really matter which box you put them in for the moment. Now we are going to locate a pattern. Now I supplied you with 2 patterns. The first one we're going to use is just called 893. We're going to set that up with 0 angle and 150 in the scale. Click OK or the Enter key. We're going to flood fill our image with that pattern, and then go to seamless tiling and set it up with corner, bidirectional, 0, 0, this one is grayed out, which is the width, transition 100, and curved corner style. Click OK. We are going to resize that layer by 90%. Just have resize all layers unticked here. Click OK. Just sharpen that slightly. We're going to select all, or Control A, and then contract that selection by 75. If you don't have an icon for contract selection, go to Selections, Modify, Contract. Now the second pattern I gave you was called ML024. This one here, that's a stripe, will most likely have this look to it. So click on that and change the scale to 200. We're going to flood fill that selection with that pattern, and then we're going to colorize it, and we're going to use hue 78 and saturation 21, and then you will have green tones instead of blues. If you don't have colorize icon, go to adjust, hue and saturation, and then colorize is at the top, and it was 78 and 21. Now we're going to go to adjust, softness, and soft focus. We're going to put in the settings of 57 in softness, edge importance is 100, have the include scattered light ticked, the amount is 100, halo size 30, and halo visibility 30, and click OK. Then we're going to add noise. I have an icon for this. If you don't have that icon, go to adjust, add remove noise, and add noise. Okay, the settings for that are Gaussian, monochrome ticked, and 10%. Click OK. Now we're going to add a drop shadow to this layer. The drop shadow will be 5 in the vertical and horizontal. Opacity is 50, blur 15, color black. Shadow on new layer is not ticked. Click OK, then reapply the drop shadow and put negative into both of these offsets. Right, deselect that, Control D, and we're going to do the same drop shadows again, which will now go on the bottom area. So just apply the negative ones first, reapply, and then just 5. Now if you don't have a drop shadow icon, you need to go to Effects, 3D Effects, Drop Shadow. Now we're going to add a new layer. We're going to click on the paintbrush, and we're going to look in here for one of the brushes, which is going to be called Vine 05. Click that one and click OK. These vines were in the zip file. We are going to make sure we have the darker green in one of our boxes. The size for this vine will be 350. Leave all the other settings as they are. So most of them, hardness and density, opacity 100, step 32. We're only going to do one click, so the step won't really matter a lot. Now we're going to click that so it is sitting about in the center of the green stripy area, and part of it just going on to the layer underneath. Because I have my dark green in the background, I will right click that. Now find Vine 07 and click OK. We're going to put a new layer here, and we're going to make the size 200. Leave the rest of the settings. We're going to place this vine over here, and again right click. Another new layer. This time we're going to make the opacity 75, and we're going to place this one just in there. Now I've placed all of those vines on separate layers, so if you need to shift them, you can. Bring up the magnolia image, which has the 2 flowers on it. We're going to activate the freehand selection. We're going to have freehand replace a feather of 35. We're going to select around the outside, fairly close, and do put some green leaves into this. Don't worry about the chopped off effect at the moment. Copy and paste that as a new layer. Grab your move tool and move it down here, about there. Now go back to the freehand selection tool and just draw around that chopped off edge and hit the delete key on your keyboard and then deselect. You can minimize that flower. Bring up the border box. Now you can just drag that over onto your image, or you can copy and paste it as a new layer. Resize that by 80%. Have resize all layers unticked. Grab your selection tool and have a rectangle. Get rid of the feathering, and you're going to select all the way around it. It doesn't matter where, just so long as you go all the way around the outside of that image, and then click somewhere in the center and your border box will be selected. Now in the materials palette, we're going to locate the gradient, which is your foreground background gradient. So it's a combination of the dark and the light green. We're going to have the angle set at 45, and we're going to have 1 repeat and have this invert ticked. If you don't tick that, you'll have the stripe in the middle. It won't really make a lot of difference, to be honest, but have the invert ticked and click OK. Now grab your paintbrush, and we're going to have the round shape. Now the settings for the paintbrush, we have round. We're going to have 200 in the size, hardness 100, step 32, density 100, thickness 100, the opacity, put that back on 100. The blend mode will be normal. Now with our gradient selected, now I forgot to say that the gradient is actually the linear style at the top here. Now with your paintbrush, you're just going to wipe it over. So holding the left mouse button down, I'm just wiping over, and that will actually be replacing all those black parts that were over here with the green. So let's just minimize that, and If I zoom in, you will see that those parts are now green and not black. Okay, now we're going to add a drop shadow to that. So back to your drop shadow. This drop shadow will be 1 in both the horizontal and vertical. Then we will have 50 in the opacity. The blur will be 0 and the color will be black. Click OK. And then we're going to deselect with Control D. Now grab your move tool and carefully place it over there so that it's about in that position there. So you have part of the underneath layer showing through here, and this one is at the top and the bottom. Could go a little tiny bit higher, but yeah, somewhere around there. You're not actually going to see these little bits here later. We're going to put another magnolia over the top of those. Now with your magic wand, the settings of mode, replace, match mode, RGB value. The tolerance will be 0, contiguous must be ticked, use all layers unticked, and a feather of 0. We are going to click inside the top area. Then we're going to hold the shift key down on your keyboard and then click that one, then the bottom one, and then the side one. Go to your layer palette and right click on that layer and promote selection to layer. So we now have that selection as a separate layer. Activate your flood fill tool. F on your keyboard will do that. And place the light green in the background box and flood fill each of those sections. You will have to do that one at a time. Now we're going to go to the blinds. I have an icon for that. If you don't, you need to go to Effects, Texture Effects, Blinds. And we're going to put 2 in the width, 25 in the opacity. This is my background green. At the moment it's in the foreground box, but if you right click on that, you'll be able to find it, whichever box it's in. Then horizontal unticked, but light from top left can be ticked, and click OK. We're going to sharpen that once just to bring those out a little tiny bit more. Right click on the promoted selection, click on Properties, and lower the opacity to 50. And then click OK. Then deselect that with Control D. Now let's bring up the other magnolia images. Let's do this one first. We are going to grab the freehand selection tool. Again, put your feather back on 35. And we're going to draw around the leafy area with this. Again, it doesn't matter if you're not too exact. Now copy and paste that as a new layer, and you're going to position it with your move tool up here in this corner, and this will actually be the top layer. You can minimize that one and bring up the other single flower, and again with your freehand selection you're going to draw around the flower. Again, a little bit of green's okay, but basically just the flower this time. Don't worry about that chopped off bit at the bottom. Copy and paste as a new layer. With your move tool, position it over here. Now you're going to place this flower behind the one down the bottom. So I've actually got mine at raster 5 at the moment, which is this double one. So find that one and drag this top flower you've just placed below the double flower. So it'll be there. Now the next thing we're going to do is merge all those layers together, so have a good look and see that you've got everything exactly where you want it, and then merge visible, or you can go to layers, merge, and your merge visible is in there. I have already done it, so it's grayed out. Now add a new layer. We are going to select all, which is Control A. Then we are going to contract this selection by 10 pixels. If you're not sure where to contract, it's in Selections, Modify, Contract. We did that one earlier. Invert that selection. Again, your invert will be in Selections, Invert. We're going to flood fill that with the gradient that we had before. We're going to add the noise we added earlier, the same settings, and we are also going to add the blinds with the same settings. Then we're going to sharpen the blinds also. We are going to add an inner bevel to that. Your inner bevel is in Effects, 3D Effects, Inner Bevel. The inner bevel I am using is number 2. The width is 35, the smoothness 15, depth 3, ambience 5, shininess 0, the colour is white, the angle 315, intensity 50, and elevation 30, and then click OK. We are going to invert that selection again and then apply a cutout. Now your cutout is also in Effects, 3D Effects. Your cutout settings will be 3 in the vertical and horizontal. The shadow colour will be black. The opacity is 50 and the blur is 10. Click OK. Reapply the cutout and change your offsets to -3. And then click OK and deselect. Add a new layer and send that layer to the bottom underneath your merged layer. Flood fill that with your light green, and then you can merge all those layers and you are finished. Well, I hope you really enjoyed that tutorial. I had a lot of fun creating it for you. If you did enjoy it, please give the video a thumbs up. Leave me a comment below also. If you're in the Facebook group, please share your creations with us over there. I'd love to see what you do. Okay, until next week when I will have another tip for you and also another tutorial. Have fun and I'll see you later. Bye.